Welcome back to Politics Tonight, and we have our guest here, Mr. Kasim Afegbua. We will be looking at the political implication of the Naira crisis. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, looking at the Supreme Court ruling earlier today, what is your view about the whole crisis?
Well, I think I have my reservations about the conduct of the CBN governor from day one, because whatever value you want to add to an economy, you have to first and foremost fulfill the primary responsibility of government, which is to provide welfare and security for the citizenry. In this case, it's like the governor of CBN is fighting with Nigerians. It's like he's quarreling with Nigerians, himself and the president. So I'm like wondering, what could be the motivation? Do you punish Nigerians because you're trying to mop up funds so that people will not use money for politics? Do you just jump into cashless economy without preparing for it? Do you just wake up one morning and you say you want Nigeria to be cashless when you don't have the basic infrastructure, internet connectivity in the rural areas, even in the city centers, they are hardly ever functional? So how can you migrate from a dysfunctional system into a functional one just overnight without, making adequate arrangement and preparations? Those other countries and economies that are into cashless economy, they've prepared the processes, and they have the basic infrastructure, the architecture to make that functional. But in our own case, I don't know. So I'm like wondering, you have money in your bank, you can't access this money. That's your legitimate savings. You can access it. That's criminal. So for me, I think the Supreme Court is coming in as a stopgap to this kind of executive recklessness, because policies of government and programs must have a human face. And those kind of policies must also take into account the interests of the ordinary Nigerian, not necessarily those who are in high places, but those in the rural areas that don't have other alternative when it comes to the issue of assessing their savings. So rather than hello?
Please go on.
Yes, rather than try to say you are helping the economy, for me, you are killing investment. Because by the time another government comes, people will be forced to withdraw their money from banks and keep in their homes. So rather than stimulating investment, savings, and all that, you are going to be killing savings. Oh, they say kidnappers are no longer this, bandits are no longer this and all that. But we also have bandits holding new currency in the forest, whereas those who are in the city do not have access to the currency. So for me, I want to commend the initiative and the position of the Supreme Court. I've had legal opinion, learned opinion on this, that Supreme Court has no jurisdiction, this or that. On issues of states versus federal government, I think the Supreme Court has implicit jurisdiction on that, and they can act in the interest of the country. Anybody, any agency of government by way of CPA or any other one that thinks that he can act on his own without being controlled by the relevant court of law, I think they will be overreaching themselves.
All right. Yes, we have the Supreme Court ruling, but then how will you describe the situation where some banks and some courts are still rejecting the old Naira notes despite the Supreme Court judgment?
Well, they are taking the cue from the lawlessness of the CBN governor, insisting that February 10th is the deadline and no going back and all of that. I saw them issue a statement today saying that if you have money to deposit, you have to come to CBN, you have to go online, go and fill a form. You have a particular number, they will give you a code. It is that code that you are going to use to be able to trace and all that, then you come and save at CBN. Why is the central bank or the Apex Bank of the land behaving like a commercial bank? Why? It's supposed to be render of last resort. It's supposed to provide a roadmap for our monetary policy and all of that. But they are behaving like the usual, commercial banks. So for me, the law must take its course. We must jealously guide against any infraction of the sanctity of Supreme Court pronouncement. No matter how, even if it's unpopular, even if you feel that it doesn't suit your own whims and caprices, we must, under a democracy, make sure that we protect the sanctity of the Supreme Court and any other court for that matter. But Nigeria and everything becoming politicized. You sleep in the morning, is politics. You wake up in the afternoon, is politics. Everything. People don't even, they have lost sight of the ingredients of a proper justice system. You know, the Supreme Court has made into this. They are trying to provide a soft landing for CBN. CBN is still insisting, as if they are interested in those who are being killed as a result of protests here and there. They shot somebody in Benin today. In Ibadan, there was protest. In Delta, there were protests. All of this. Why do you have to protest for somebody going to court to go and, just withdraw his own legitimate savings? Since last week, I've issued check just to collect little money across the counter. They wouldn't give. The closer they wanted to give was 5,000 naira in 50 naira denomination, looking so dirty and all of that. What is the meaning of all that? Then tomorrow you think I have opportunity to withdraw all of that money, I won't withdraw my money? I will have no business to do with banking in terms of savings. If I can be thinking like this at my own level, you can imagine what the ordinary man in the street or even in the rural area will be thinking. So I still want to commend the Supreme Court for coming in at this time, and I commend the state governors for even having the boldness to confront the system that they feel is impacting negatively on the well-being of the ordinary citizen.
All right, talking about protest, which has led to violence in several parts of the country, what should the president do at this time? And I'm also going to say, shouldn't he, withdraw his support for the CBN governor now?
You see, I've always said that President Muhammadu Buhari allows himself at times to be cajoled, then falling into trap, booby trap, be set for him by his lieutenants. And for crying out loud, the president, for me, is a monologue. He talks to himself. He doesn't talk to Nigerians. When the governors met him last week, he said in 7 days he was going to get back to them. Within the 7 days, he called the Council of State, which to me is more like an advisory body, more like a rubber stamp assembly, to go and to discuss the issue of monetary policy or the Naira swap and what have you. For God's sake, I expect the president to always find opportunity to address and speak to Nigerians who elected him to preside over them for this second term. Rather than keeping quiet and maintaining conspiratorial silence on issues that require urgent national emergency, kind of. I expected him to come out and talk to Nigerians and address Nigeria. Let us even know the roadmap. He's making the CBN look like the spokesman of government. Emefiele will talk to today. Tomorrow is Ghana press conference. Too much of seeing the faces of Emefiele is provoking Nigerians. You are seeing his faces all over the time. He's not addressing the issue. There has to be a public relations department of the CBN that should take up the issue of communication. We don't want to be seeing the face of Godwin Emefiele. I mean, that's not, because all he's telling us in Nigeria, they are even further aggravating the situation, insisting that, oh no, to break has no jurisdiction. He says the February 10th deadline is this, is that. Oh, come on. Are you the owner of CBN? CBN is our collective property. Our collective patrimony is domiciled in CBN, and we have a right to interrogate their processes if the policies and programs are not in line with what we expected. But this is Nigeria, anything goes. People are just assume larger than life image, larger than life, personality, and they don't care a hoot about the well-being of the people. So whatever be the motive of this, I was asking someone yesterday, I said, whatever be the motive, this is a policy that was wrong-headed. In an election year, And after this election, they also put in place a census, national population census is coming up in March and April. What is all of this? So a government that is exerting power, you need to finish strong. I don't know who is advising President Muhammadu Buhari. That's the truth. But whoever has given this advice, whether you say it is meant for you want to stop people from buying votes, you want to do this, you want to do that. When they take this new currency to the bank, it's also the big men that will go there and take the chunk of it. So the ordinary person doesn't even have access to it.
All right.
So it's quite unfortunate.
It is said that the CBN and the president wanted to end vote buying. Can this policy end vote buying?
Well, I don't know how much of control they want to control, the money circulation or money in people's bank accounts. But you cannot just wake up in the morning in October, to be specific, October, November, December, January, and you say you want to take money away from the street and because of vote buying. Meanwhile, we are hearing news that through the back door, you have funded the opposition. We have had those kind of news. And I have every cause to believe, because even the opposition candidate, Elijah Abubakar, insisted, was giving directives to CBN as it was president, that CBN must not extend beyond February 10. Why do you derive joy in punishing Nigerians? Why are you this wicked? Why are you heartless? Saying that there should be no extension beyond February 10. Oh, people have old currency, say they should not collect again. What is the meaning of that? Because you want to be president of Nigeria, you are being so desperate, and so everybody should die so that you can become president? Who are you going to preside over? So this is the kind of thing you get to when people have ulterior motives to policies and programs. When people are acting like conspirators, working from answer to question just to get their own selfish interest, self-aggrandizement, just to get it fulfilled. People are behaving like conquistadors who wants to acquire. When they are tired of acquiring, they throw one policy to rattle the system. See, whether we like it or not, Nigerians deserve a right to be told the proper thing, and the CBN governor and that CBN as a bank has a duty to act as bulwark for all manners of infractions in terms of financial transactions. They need to take the interests of Nigerians at heart. This is not a matter of APC. It's a purely government one, because this particular Naira swap was never in APC manifesto. And so if the CBN governor has decided to use this as a way to punish Nigerians, well, we will collectively continue to pray that may God forgive him.
Mr. Afegbua, amid all these crises, some governors have continued to tell their citizens to continue to use the old Naira notes, which leaves Nigerians confused and anxious. What's your view on this?
Yes, that is what you get when you don't have a disciplined federal government. This federal government is very indisciplined because they are not talking to us. They are behaving like a typical monologue. They are only talking to themselves and those who are in Aso Villa. They just feel that it is their own rights to dish out all manners of bestialities and inanities on us. And we, as compliant citizens, will just swallow everything, hook, line, and sinker. I think it has gone beyond that. You see, when a government cannot put its feet down and respond to the yearnings and aspirations of the collective, of the people for whom that government is meant, you are bound to have this kind of pockets of, what do you call it, directives, counter directives. Oh, governors, of course, they govern their states. They need to do things that will suit their own citizens because they are the receiving end of the pressure. The governors will meet with their people. If the people are not happy, the governors must do that, which will help to ameliorate or even simmer down the kind of anger. You can say the protestation, you see banks being burnt and all of that. Some governors are telling their citizens, please don't take locks into your hands. They are working from us. We have said this before now that they want to provoke a crisis situation so that there could be an apocalypse. that apocalypse will not come. February 25, election will hold, a victor will emerge, and we'll move on from there. Now, if peradventure the conspirators didn't get their way, and what they were expecting didn't happen, what will not happen? They will not say, oh, somebody is being witch-hunted and all of that. Because a new government that will be coming in place this month will definitely have its own policies and programs that may be different from this one, irrespective of whether it is of the APC or otherwise. So, I am of the opinion that policies oozing out from the inner sanctuary of the CBN must have human face. They must look at the suffering of Nigerians. I don't know how it pleases them that they see people queuing up at ATM machines. This early morning at 8 o'clock, I was at Transcorp Hilton. By the time I got there, at least I took a count of about 48 people queuing up just to access one ATM machine of the Zenith Bank. Before that, along the road, you see the same scenario. Go to Ghana Street as we speak now, you see a long queue, people waiting to collect. How much? 2,000 Naira, 5,000 Naira. This is their legitimate savings.
Afegbua.
What kind of wickedness, what kind of heartlessness is that?
Mr.
What kind of
Afegbua,
recklessness is that?
the governor of your state appears to support this CBN action amid violence in Edo State. What's your reaction on this? Is he on track?
What Obaseki? Are you talking about Governor Obaseki?
Yes.
That one, is that one a governor? Is that one to be taken serious? Everything Obaseki does, he plays politics with it. He met with the CBN in Edo. I was talking as if he was the one who gave them the directive ab initio for this currency swap. Anybody that does not take side with Nigeria, with the suffering of Nigerian masses, such a person should get his head examined properly. See, it is so provocative, it is annoying, it is disheartening, it is discomfiting. For anybody to think that you have a policy in place where you see your citizenry suffering just to go and get 2,000 Naira from the bank, 5,000 Naira from the bank, you spend like 6 hours. To hell with that kind of policy. To hell with it. Then tomorrow you wake up and tell me that such a government is for the welfare of the people? No. The primary responsibility of government is protection of lives and property and welfare of the people. It is written in our Constitution, 1999 as amended, chapter 4. So it's very explicit. But when you now derive job because you have access to all manners of illicit funds here and there, and you want to send people to be something because you say you are trying to protect both by. Where are the security men? Where is EFCC? Where is ICPC? Where is the police? Where is the military? In all of this, why won't they protect or prevent people from buying votes? Why must people suffer because they want to queue up to vote to elect a leader? And you think that, oh, that will go to counter, but that is why you see the APC coming out to become like critic of his own self, because the government did not consult the governors of APC before they came up with this policy. And it was never contained in the APC manifesto. And so they need to speak out. They spoke out. 10 governors have joined today, 10 governors of 10 states. They have joined today. So they have adjourned the case to Wednesday next week. And you see the CBN still gallivanting and shouting, telling us that, no, we are not going back on this. We are not going back. So who are you? Who do you want to please? Are you the owner of CBN? Do you own the money there?
All right.
It's equal ownership. Opportunities may differ, but for God's sake, this is equal ownership.
All right, so INEC has said the current crisis is a threat to the 2023 elections, as ad hoc staff and those who move materials will be paid in cash. Do you have fears that this election may be postponed?
You see, even the position of CBN, when the INEC chairman visited him, CBN governor, saying that they were going to make cash available to INEC, is also wrong. You see, a CBN cannot assume the position and the role of a commercial bank. The CBN, by law, is a banker's bank. And so, sitting down in your cocoon so comfortably and telling INEC, for me, INEC has a duty to perform. But if the CBN has deliberately and consciously tied INEC's hands or padlock their mouth or put chain, manacles on their legs, there is nothing they can do. If they are planning to postpone election, it will only fall into my earlier assessment that they are working from answer to question and do not want elections to take place so that there could be some kind of interregnum. God forbid such interregnum. God forbid any plot to foist on us interim government. There must be election February 25. If you postpone, that election must still take place. And whether they like it or not, INEC has its own bank. The CBN cannot be channeling cash to INEC like that. That would be criminal, that would be fraudulent. Nigerians need to be told, because it's not their responsibility. If you know you have printed money, give money to banks. INEC has a finance department. They have auditors. They have finance experts. So let them deal with that, not you sitting down, you are carrying out Ghana must go back and carry more cash to them. That means you are going to funnel that money through another source to fund some opposition. It's quite unfortunate, but this is where we have found ourselves, in the hands of Emefiele and the president of the country.
All right, so let's talk about the impending election. The Labour Party candidate is leading in all opinion polls. Are we going to see big surprises in this 2023 election? Mr. Afegbua?
Well, please, don't discuss opinion polls with me.
Why not?
Because we know how they generate opinion polls. Oh. You see, the razzmatazz that has visited the OP presidency is only good for the fact that the youths are getting more, enlightened and awake to their responsibility. So what you need for a virile democracy, particularly an opposition democracy, is a conscientized, sensitized, and mobilized electorates who can interrogate issues and scenarios. So when you talk about opinion polls, I'm yet to see the criteria they deploy in coming at those conclusions. And I keep telling people, you can draw your opinion polls, you can come up with it, but these 2023 elections, next week Saturday, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the man to beat by all standards. A lot of people who are running around, like today, I met a set of young guys, about 9 of them, were interacting. Out of those 9, they all want to be, but only 2 had PVC. And I was asking them, why don't you? He said they don't stay in the country, and by the time they came, they were not opportune to be registered. So when you see the kind of noise and you conduct opinion poll around those kind of persons, and you want to use that as a basis to determine who becomes the winner, I would say that's a wrong-headed approach. So for me, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is the man to beat. You saw him today in Rivers State, met with Nyesom Wike. Don't tell me that is not a good outing. You have the G5 taken away from Atiku. You can't tell me that it's going to be inconsequential. No. You have 21 governors of the APC who are also part of mobilizing their electorates in their respective states. You have local government chairmen who are going to do a lot of mobilization. Then you are telling me that Obi is the one who is leading in the polls. Let him go and do opinion poll and be president of opinion poll. But the president of the country that we want, that who I am saying, will be Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
All right, that leads me to my next question. You say you do not belong to the APC, but you openly support the presidential candidate of the APC, that's Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What's going on?
No, you see, I have inalienable right under the Constitution of Nigeria to express my franchise, that's to vote and be voted for. In this case, I'm voting for someone in expression of that fundamental right, which cannot be taken away from me by anybody in any stretch of imagination. Now, I decided to support Bola Ahmed Tinubu in line with the aspirations of the 14 northern governors who rose from a meeting and told the party that they must cede presidency to the southern part of the country. After a Buhari presidency, in order to balance the power algorithms, in order to balance
Mr. Afegbua.
This sense of inclusion, because, can you hear me?
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes. In order to eliminate this concept of mobilization and of marginalization, you need to balance the power algorithms. So after 8 years of President Buhari, the northern governors, who today are my heroes, because they looked at the president and asked him, say, no, after you, it should be the Sultan of the South. Those who left PDP to join APC in 2015 in the name of zoning, Atiku Abubakar and others, Yochayu and so many of them, are the same persons who have left APC to continue the abuse of zoning in PDP. In 2019, it was the opportunity of the northern aspirants. They all contested. No southern aspirants participated. So in 2023, you still want to continue the same matter in a fit of desperation. That, to me, is a handshake beyond the elbow. So when the G5 are speaking, when they are talking about issue of 2023, you should know the perspective from which they are taking the issue. So for me, I don't have to belong to a party. I am a voter. And I have few people who also support me in my polling unit, Ward 5 in Okpola, polling unit 001, Ikpomaza Grammar School. I'm going to be there on that voting day, February 25th. I will leave Abuja, go to that village to ensure that I'm able to talk to our people and return Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in that polling unit. And I expect every other person who is supporting Asiwaju to also do the same thing, because election is at the polling unit level. Once you conclude with count, it is posted using the Beavers technology to the central collation point. So don't expect that I will be a member of a party before I can vote. No, I'm a voter, which is the fundamental thing. Electorates, that's those who elect their leaders, may not necessarily be members of political parties, but they might be persuaded by the policies and ideologies and the credentials of the candidate they support. In this case, for me, Bola Ahmed Tinubu represents the yearnings and aspirations of my own orientation. A man who stood and fought for democracy, vigorously using Nadeco and other means. A man who has been in the trenches, who was a governor of Lagos State, even when the federal government, denied him his statutory allocation for more than 4 years. The man was still standing. When Obasanjo captured, the southwestern states, Lagos remained unbound. That is the kind of mindset I want. That's the kind of strategic thinker that I want to see as the president. And I've had opportunity of interacting with him. I've looked into his renewed hope document, and I've seen a lot of things. In his campaigns, he has been drawing peculiar policies and programs that suit the different states of this country. And so I'm a supporter of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Unapologetically, I don't owe anybody any explanation to do that, because it's my right to so do. And I'm praying fervently that come February 25th, by 26, 27, the results should be out and Bola Ahmed Tinubu will be announced.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Kashim Afegbua, for sharing your perspective with us on the political implication of the currency crisis. Thank you very much for coming on Politics Tonight.
It's a pleasure always, all the time. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much.